it doesn't matter. Well, perhaps that might be the broader reason, but look, it's not going to happen if there's no plan to have it happen.
No, but
and if you do want this stuff to happen, do you trust someone who has the 16-page plan versus somebody who says, oh, well, we have concepts of a plan?
This is the face of a man trying his hardest to be an asshole. Like, have you ever met the person who's so argumentative that they will argue any point just for the sake of it? And they make it seem like it's like some cool thing to do. Like, bro, like, I'll argue any point. Like, no, you just look like a dumbass. So when it comes to the election that happened last year, which I know everybody and their mama done covered that, but it's good that Dems from the left, from liberals to anything in between within the Democratic Party, they're having these conversations, because trust me, we got plenty of time. And I would just want, if possible, if we can agree on some fundamental things that the party needs to run on. And especially when it comes to the voters, because if anything, the Democratic Party needs to come to us, the people who's voting for them, and say, hey, what do you guys want? But if we're sitting here shouting out a million things from a million people, I mean, technically, what good is going to be done? So this is why conversations like what we should be having here, which is the whole point of this channel, is to have these conversations. So when we go, to these politicians and say, hey, I don't care what you think is good for us. We're telling you we want A, B, and C, X, Y, and Z. And if you don't get this done, you're not going to have no second term. It is not guaranteed. We want you to get into that office and handle business. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're not going to tell us what's good for us. We know. We actually live our lives. We see the prices of everything. We have to pay these bills. So we're going to tell you what we want. That's how that relationship should work. This is not a two-way street here. This is a one-way. And if you ain't on that one way, then you get out of my way. That Ludacris song, hey. But this conversation between Tyler, I think it's Tyler, Cohen, and Chris Cuomo, which, once again, I've been watching Chris Cuomo since I was younger. You know what I'm saying? I agree with maybe like 60% of the things he proposes or says, but that 40% is a strong disagreeing 40%. Like, sometimes I look at Chris and be like, hey, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, you sound confused. Like, you done hit your head and you just talking craziness. And in this interview that we're going to watch, that's the Chris that we're looking at. Is the one that probably hit his head and doesn't know where he's at. So now he's just saying these weird things. It's like, no, that's not how that works. And I'm glad that Mr. Brian here is checking him on that. And I've just been watching Brian, I think, for the past maybe few months. I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to my circle of, people that I listen to for like information and take them seriously is very small, and he still got some proving to do. But this conversation that he had with Chris was really good. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
This test issue, but I have to recognize, too, that I would rather have a Democrat who's with me 50% of the time than a Republican who's with me 0% of the time. And so it's just a matter of becoming more tolerant of people with differing views if we want to actually have some longevity in
it depends. Party. It depends.
Now, before they get into the real question, hey, that was right on the money. I've been saying that since day one. I don't care if I agree with you 60, 70% of the time. If we understand the fundamentals of what we need to be championing and get established within America, hey, we are allies. I don't need you behind me 100% of everything that I believe in or my opinions. No, that's stupid. I'm literally going to be the only person in. And even that sometimes is questionable. So once again, on point.
Depends on what the views are. Just back to the analogy. And by the way, one of the things that I love is you know how to disagree and make better points. And very often I feed you points that I don't necessarily hold myself, but I want to see how you deal with them.
Yeah.
To the Manchin AOC thing. AOC relents on nothing positionally unless there's something in it for her, which she has had to learn to do, to be an operator within a power dynamic. I'm saying this as a compliment, not as a criticism.
Yeah.
But otherwise, she doesn't move because she's a zealot. Manchin is from West Virginia, okay? Ruby red. And that cat still went from it's a man and a woman in marriage to being behind the Respect for Marriage Act in 2022. He moved. He evolved. That's what you could argue your party is suffering from, is too many who don't evolve and stay in crazy town with extreme positions.
So, once again, I don't know if he's still referring to AOC as being the crazy one, but what is she championing that's crazy? That would be my number one. Like, what is crazy? Medicare for all? Is that really crazy? The Green New Deal? Climate control? What's crazy? Because last time I checked, she's not telling everyone they need to be forced with pronouns or they need to be forced with a sex change or like, no. What is crazy about AOC? I genuinely want to know. I don't know everything about her. I don't see every single interview and clip. So if I'm missing something, please let me know. But until then, if there's nothing crazy like that, why is this guy saying stuff like that? But I think the response that Brian gives him is still a good response. But I will just stop the conversation right there until you give me a little bit more detail of what the hell you're talking about.
I would push back on that example and say, while you claim that AOC is a zealot for being immovable, the example that you just gave is an instance where AOC was correct, and so luckily,
it's like the only one.
Luckily,
it's like the only one though. What else has she been right about that the rest of the party, the rest of the country was wrong about?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I can't think of an example off the top of my...
What does that tell you? You're one of the smartest guys in your party.
Well, look, I don't have like a list of AOC's positions in front of me, but I do think also something to take into consideration is that for a lot of people in this country right now, specific policy positions are not necessarily what they vote on, and certainly not some sacrosanct issue that they hold in high regard. I mean, for a lot of people in this country, they're just looking at vibes, and they're just looking at passion, and they're just thinking of what Donald Trump said, for example. This guy couldn't articulate his plan for childcare after he was asked it, 36 times on like national forums, still couldn't articulate a coherent position on childcare. Meanwhile, you have Democrats who have like 16-page proposals on how they're going to enact this stuff. And for a lot of people, that doesn't matter. For most people, the vast majority of
because
people
it doesn't happen.
Okay,
it doesn't matter.
Okay, so before he gets into this other weird, trust me, it's going to get weird. You don't have to be in a popular position when it comes to like everyone loving your position in order to like quote unquote be right. Like, for example, Medicare for all. I don't care what Republicans say about that. That is what's needed. Clearly, statistically, you can prove that. That's something that Republican voters, Democratic voters, and every voter in between, they're hurting one way or another when it comes to the Medicare system. What about that, Chris? That's not something that you vote, oh, is she correct or is she not correct? I would rather you stand on business and be consistent in believing that than flip-flopping whenever it's convenient for you. And that's why me personally, let me know in the comments down below, That's why I respect someone like a Bernie Sanders. He's been standing on business since day one, before I was born. I'm 37 years old. He's been talking this stuff, this business, before I was born. He's been on consistency. That's the definition, at least to me, on being consistent on the message. And he's right. But it hasn't been passed, or at least some of the things that he's championing, because people don't, or the elite don't want to move. So that's an example of being right, but not getting your way because what? You're wrong? That's not how politics works, or at least how politics should work. So once again, Chris, what are you doing, bro? Like, hey buddy, can I call you Chris? What the F are you doing? I don't know.
People, that doesn't matter. For most people, the vast majority of
because
people
it doesn't happen.
It doesn't matter. Well, perhaps that might be the broader reason, but look, it's not going to happen if Democrats who have like 16 page proposals on how they're going to enact this stuff. And for a lot of people, that doesn't matter. For most people, the vast majority of
because
people
it doesn't happen.
It doesn't matter. Well, perhaps that might be the broader reason, but look, it's not going to happen if there's no plan to have it happen.
No, but
and
if
you do want this stuff to happen, do you trust someone who has the 16-page plan versus somebody who says, "Oh, well, we have concepts of a plan"?
This is the face of a man trying his hardest to be an asshole. Like, have you ever met the person who's so argumentative that they will argue any point just for the sake of it? And they make it seem like it's like some cool thing to do. Like, bro, like, I'll argue any point. Like, no, you just look like a dumbass. Like, that's not cool. That's not helping the conversation. Like, I understand maybe, like, you know, playing the devil's advocate. Like, okay, I get that point. But when it's something so basic like this, like, would you rather trust a person who doesn't have a plan or a person who has a plan? Well, I mean, technically, like, you know, plans are just a construct of the imagination. And, you know, like, bro, shut up. You're trying too hard. Get out the conversation. You are not helping nothing except for being a pain in my behind. Shh, be quiet, Chris. Like, what's going on? Like, who are you talking to? Like, brain dead idiots out there? Or are you trying to have an articulate conversation with people who can comprehend more than just 30 seconds of a TikTok video? Do better with your life. He has all this media presence. Hey, look at that. One day I want that. But he's so stupid. Bro, do better. This is ridiculous. You're arguing a point that's elementary. My kids understand that point. But listen to his dumb ass answer.
One who has the 16-page plan versus somebody who says, "Oh, well, we have concepts of a plan."
I get it, but I think here's why the concepts of a plan thing didn't bite the way the Harris-Walz ticket wanted it to bite.
Yeah.
Because the reality is the executive does not make the plan. The executive asks their people in Congress to come up with a plan that meets their goals and their requirements. Everybody knows that who's in the game. So the idea...
No. If that's some insider things that I'm not trivial to, then that's a bunch of BS. Then why are we voting for politicians that are proposing all these crazy things if none of it matters? Is that your position, that, hey guys, voting doesn't even matter because they're not going to even enact any of their plans that they told the American people because Congress comes up with the plan? Hey, Chris, you're going to have to do better than that, because that's some BS. Because when it comes to tax breaks, when Trump said he's going to do that, hey, guess what? It happened. I'm just saying. So once again, hey, Chris, you're going to have to do a lot better. That is not working.
Yeah, that you have to go in with a plan. Obama didn't go in with the ACA. Congress is going to make it up. Concepts are fine. It's about what those concepts are and how they work. Does that still leave Trump lacking?
A concept is just a concept, and a plan is essentially the same, but a concept is like the basic structure. A plan is more of an upgrade of a concept. If that makes sense. Like, once again, this is like trying to split hairs here, when I would rather have Harris talk about what she's going to do with, cutting child poverty. You know what I'm saying? She wants to do, give families, X amount of dollars each year. She wanted to, child pay leave, all that good stuff. And Trump says, I have concepts of a plan to cut child poverty. Who, as thinking human beings, should at least give more time to listen to, or even give the option to enact their plan? Someone who has a rough draft of a plan, and of course, you got to go through the House and Congress. I get that. Or someone who's just winging it, who hasn't even put more than 5 minutes into thinking about the situation. That is not hard to. I don't even understand what we're arguing at this point, Chris. Like you see this vein right here? You're causing my blood pressure to rise with this BS that you're saying. But once again, woosah. Woosah, rub the ears. Woosah. Woosah. Okay. Hey guys, we're back. Let's continue.
Yeah, but that's not why he won. He won because of it being an outrage election. We talked about this many times, you and I. And people were pissed off, and you owned the status quo, and they felt you were in denial of it, and that she didn't represent, and that the party had screwed up the process. So then you lost the democracy high ground. But it was an outrage election. And I guess it's, what do you do now in terms of, to use your word, vibe? Do you become more about collective outrage, or do you dare to try to be better and try to switch the vibe from the negative to the positive?
I think it's a few things. I think we have to be able to do a few things. The first is to make sure that we are, look, Republicans have full control of government. They own everything, for better or for worse now. So they came into office saying that we're going to lower the cost of eggs and food and houses and gas and just, across the board, they're going to lower prices. Now they have nobody to blame if and when they do it. So the onus is on us to make sure that we hold them to account to do the things that they themselves promised that they would do.
But I would say they're still going to blame Democrats. Once again, time and time again, conversation after conversation after conversation, they have proven they don't care about the proof of why they're blaming Democrats or gay people or black people or immigrants or brown people or China. They don't care. They're going to blame whoever they want to blame and could care less about, well, technically, statistically speaking, they don't care about that. So, in my opinion, they're still going to blame the Democrats for everything that goes wrong and blame themselves when things accidentally go right. They don't care about logic and being held accountable because, you're going to sit there with your pencil and paper and be like, oh, no, they don't care about that. So, once again, don't even bother trying to do that.
We hold them to account to do the things that they themselves promised that they would do.
No, you have to make sure, Brian, that they don't blame you for why they can't do it.
Well,
because he's already saying, it's not easy to bring prices down. He's already saying it's not easy to bring prices down, which is, of course, fucking true. But he's going to blame you guys.
And the irony of that is, Republicans control every branch of government right now. And I say every branch of government because I mean the Supreme Court as well. But they control House, Senate, White House. And they will own every failure. But at the same time, to your exact point, if something they don't like happens in a state, well, does that state have a Democratic governor? Because then you can blame them. And if a state has a Republican governor, well, then you can go down to the city level. And do the cities have Democratic representation? Then you can blame them. So Republicans will not accept blame for any of their failures. It's very much the Roy Cohn model that Donald Trump has ascribed to, and that's this idea of never admitting fault, never taking blame for anything, but taking full credit for all the successes. So to your point, I do think that the onus is on Democrats to make sure that we stay on top of Republicans, because they're not going to take the blame for themselves, and in fact, they're going to do the opposite. They're going to blame the Democrats for anything that goes wrong. But to your initial question, it's not enough anymore to just be anti-Trump, and it's not going to matter because he's a lame duck president anyway. And so we have to figure out what the Democratic brand is for. And I think a big part of that too is, and this is so far up separate from policy or legislation. It's just figuring out how to talk to people that sounds like we're actually communicating on a human level. And I think for so many Democrats, whether it's because we rely on polls to determine what the safest way to communicate is, whether it's because, Democrats, for better or for worse, are the party where we have to take into account what special interest groups are concerned about. And so we want to talk in a way that is safe, unoffensive, uncontroversial, and that waters down our ability to sound human. And so we have to figure out a way to communicate with people that is effective, and that doesn't just sound like either a college professor or an AI bot.
I want to go down that road 2 or 3 steps further. But first,
okay, first I don't think he has anything worth listening to. So let's go to our next point here. 2430. So once again, just to kind of add on to what they just talked about, like, you can do both. And when it comes to the Harris campaign, she spoke about, healthcare and economics and all the ins and outs of that. And she came up with proposals. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was 9 pages and some change. I read it 3 times just for my videos. It was very bland, but she had policies. But she was lacking, which in my opinion, I don't care about personality. I don't care if she's likable. I don't care if she goes to the barber shops and sip beers. Like, I could care less about that. I just care 100% about the policies. I don't need a best friend in the Oval Office. I just need someone to get in there and handle business that I voted for you to do. That's simple. It's real cut and dry here. I don't need your friendship. I don't need to talk to you on Twitter or whatever. Just go in there and go to work. That's simple. But I know there's people like bro, like, she wasn't black enough, or she wasn't like friendly, like those weirdos. Like, no. Stop looking for friends in politics. These are not your friends. These are people we put to work. They work for us. We don't need to be their friends. We don't need to go out and have a beer. I don't even drink beer, but we don't need to go out and hang out. No, go in there and handle business and go home and live life. That's simple. But maybe I'm weird, I guess. I don't know.
But the onus is on us to figure out where to pick our battles, which hills to die on, because we just don't have the energy and we don't have the numbers to raise a stink about everything. And so we have no choice but to figure out where to focus our energy. Wow. And by the way, that's what I view my job within the broader messaging apparatus of the party as being, is figuring out how to make sure that Democrats aren't waking up every single day and going healthcare, abortion, gun safety, climate change, and when we're just kind of throwing messaging left and right, really nothing sticks at the end of the day. To their credit, Republicans have been really effective over the last decade, it feels like, where I can only presume that they wake up and go into the morning meeting and figure out what they're going to talk about that day. And this way, everybody's coordinated. This way, everybody's organized. And so starting at 5 a.m. with Fox and Friends, all the way to Judge Janine and Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity at night, they're saying the exact same thing. And so, of course, this messaging gets seared into the brains of their supporters, whether they're watching on Fox or OAN or Newsmax or Rumble.
They picked the right set of 60-40. So in politics, there's a practice called the 60-40, which is certain issues break 60-40. Like what? Allowing kids any kind of control over anything medical, let alone trans surgery. It just 60-40, parents are like, no, that's crazy. And Democrats will then argue the nuance and what it's really about, but it doesn't matter. The argument's over. This is why they hit the trans on that and on the trans community's participation in sports. It's a 60-40 split. Nobody wants even the idea, even if it never really happens, just the idea has a 60-40 split to it. And they poached on all of those issues. And you're talking climate change, gun safety.
So to that example he just gave, like, I understand what he's trying to say, but he kind of like threw in something there that I think kind of dismantles that entire argument. Is like the Republican Party even pounced on things that didn't even happen or wasn't even part of the Democratic plans for America. And they still harped on it as if like this is Democrats' #1 policy is to trans every single kid. No, what? I don't know where they got that from. So once again, like, I understand what he's saying, but once again, Republicans don't even play by that rule. They're saying this is what the Democratic Party wants to do, disregarding that they have pages after page after page of their own policies. No, this is what the Democratic want to do. This is what they represent. They're going after your jobs, your money, and your kids, and your family, and your home, and your car, and the food that you eat, your communities. They're telling you what the other party wants to do. So this whole 60-40 thing, I get it in theory, but it makes sense if both parties are playing by the same rules. But time after time after time, the Republicans show they don't care about rules. They're making up rules as they go. And that's the battle.
These are all on the 40 side of propositions. Climate change, well, what does it mean? Because it seems to mean a limitation of something I want right now, which is going to put me on the 60 side. Like, for instance, EVs. Mandating EVs. How does Elon Musk wind up with Trump when he stands the most to lose from how Trump feels about EVs? Because he knows that he's on the 40 side of the 60-40 split, Elon, and that you got to have every kind of fuel source being tapped instead of saying you have to use just one. That's what the Democrats have to get better at, seeing where the majority is on things and not seeming like you're against the majority.
Yes, and because for a lot of Democratic issues, they're already on those sides of the issues, and that's why when they're present as standalone issues on ballots, like at ballot measures or ballot initiatives, like overturning right to work or abortion or legalizing marijuana. These are Democratic positions that far exceed the performance of Democrats themselves on these ballots. I think what Democrats have to get better at is not just embracing the 60 side of these 60-40 issues, but also figuring out how to message them in a way that people actually know that the issues that you support are also going to be enacted by the party that you don't support.
Right.
And so, a big part of that, by the way, is the asymmetry in the media ecosystem. The left, the Democratic Party for so long has relied on legacy media as our message distribution system, and they're not. In fact, legacy media, mainstream media bends over backwards to prove that it's not liberal media. How many times did the New York Times run front page cover stories on Hillary's emails? They are not on our team. The same way that Fox is on the Republican Party's team, that OAN and Newsmax are on their team, that InfoWars and Megyn Kelly's show and Daily Wire, they are on the Republican Party's team.
Digital media is overweighted to the right. I would argue legacy media went after Trump in a way that, did as much favor for Biden as anything did. But I appreciate your point. I think you're right on the digital side specifically. And that's why one of the reasons I love you, by the way, and my father would have loved you. I don't know where Andrew is on you, but My father, I can't tell you how many Democrats in your generation talk to me about your party like I don't understand it. Like I don't know what it is to be like, which I find so offensive that I don't even address it because I don't know how to address it without being physical. So, but my father,
Wait, are you suggesting that the Cuomos don't have any legacy with
we don't
with
have
the
any
Democratic Party?
we don't have any DAP anymore. It turns out as Democrats, which is kind of weird. But except at the convention where they kept showing clips of my father, the who and the how of the messaging, I want to talk about a little bit. The Maddow effect. I always called Rachel the professor when I went against her at CNN. So smart, such a high level of erudition and research. She could talk about whatever she wanted at night that was totally not on the news, and it would still work with that audience because they just wanted her take on things that were appreciated by existing Democratic beliefs. And that's also why she was losing audience to me and to Fox, was because the mistake of the smart Democrat, and there is a high degree of intelligence on the Democratic side. Now, a lot of it has been co-opted by, in my opinion, culture wars. But the condescension, the arrogance, the you're an idiot, so let me see if I can bring you along to where I am because I'm much smarter than you, was a huge problem for Democrats that Trump wound up benefiting from because of how bad his language is and how rough around the edges he is and unsophisticated. And it made...
Once again, I get that example and I understand because I guess I would fall into that. I do call a lot of people idiots and stupid and the whole nine. But I mean, sometimes like you are smarter than other people. And then of course there's other people that are smarter than you. So like it goes hand in hand, like it's not just a one-way street here. But Trump, he is dumb as a bag of bricks. Trust me, I get it. But he's also telling people that they're not smart and they're not this and this and this. So once again, he's speaking like an idiot, but he's still using that mindset of I'm better than everybody else who disagrees with me. So once again, like I get what Chris is saying, but like Trump didn't do anything magical. He was just being an asshole, a dumb asshole. That simple.
People feel better about being against this level of sophistication. You, conversely, get that. And you are not Rachel Maddow. You are smart. You are well-researched with what you do, but you do not make me feel bad about it. You do not talk down to me. And I think that is a fundamental thing that you guys have to learn. And I think Kamala read really condescending to people. And Americans may not be the most studied, but they're really sensitive to being stupid. And that's a tough spot. Do you recognize that within your own persuasion?
Yes. I mean, it's clearly like an issue, a very visible issue within the Democratic Party, like on the left, is that there is a degree of, even for me as a content creator, if I step one step left to center and say something incorrect or even misquote something or whatever it is, I mean, I'll get completely beat up. Democrats love to lecture other Democrats. Democrats love to scold. And I think that's something that we have to get over as a party because, to your point, I mean, you catch more flies with honey, right? And I think that we have to recognize just basic sociology, just basic how to reach out to people, how to make people feel like they want to be part of your coalition.
And he makes sense. And once again, if it's something that I need to work on, of course. But I mean, like, I definitely get that in my comments. Like, people will like harp on the most smallest things and make a big deal. I remember I spelled attack incorrectly. I at the end of it, I put a T instead of a K. It was my 6th video that I recorded that day. hey, just go in the comments and say, hey, big bro, you kind of misspelt that. Just looking out for you. But no, I had to get this whole paragraph of me misspelling this word, and it's like, no, hey, first off, get off your high horse, stop being jealous, and of course I kind of had to go in. I apologize. I need to do better. I need to be better. But at the same time, it is okay to challenge each other. I would never not want to do that. I will challenge you on your opinion on something if you're a Democrat. You know, that's how we get things ironed out, sharpened. So when we do have these conversations on a bigger scale, on a bigger platform, we know what we're talking about and we have a more well-rounded conversation. So, I mean, you know, that's pretty simple right there. But of course, you know, it's like another 35 minutes to that episode there. Go, if you want to Chris Cuomo's YouTube channel so you can watch that entire back and forth, that conversation. I think it was pretty solid when it comes to the topics. But of course, Chris is like, I don't know if he's doing that on purpose or if he's just, once again, I'm being that person he doesn't like, but just being stupid. Like, come on, man. Like, you don't have to intellectually stoop that low to have people understand. I think some people have the capacity to be smarter than what they think they are. You know, so you don't have to talk to people like they're babies. You know, but once again, guys, I appreciate you guys watching this. If you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, let me know in the comments down below or hit that Discord button so we can have that one-on-one talk. And like always, let's have that conversation.